So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Matthew, for doing this. I want to let you know that we do have our questions for you, maybe some talking points, but really, what I know that I and people in the audience will want to hear is like what you care about and what you're passionate about. So you're more than welcome to bring up, whatever uh, bills need to be passed or topics are important to you, or if you want to get into crypto, just keep that in mind that like this is definitely your conversation. It's for us to get to know you. So, like I said, we have our questions, but if there's something that's really important to you, just please know that the floor is definitely always yours.
Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on here to chat. Yeah, no, actually, the floor is yours. I'm here to answer any questions and just have a discussion because I think that that's the best way to grow in terms of even the crypto space, in terms of society, is to speak, discuss, and share ideas.
Sounds awesome. So then I guess we could just start off with if you'd be so kind as to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, excellent. Well, first, again, thanks for having me here. My name is Matthew Diemer, and I'm running for Congress in Ohio's 16th district. So, what does that mean? And I know this might be super 101, but running for Congress is I am running to represent a district in Ohio, which is Northeast Ohio, a little bit west of Cleveland, the suburbs of Cleveland. It goes down to other rural areas, and right now the district is around 721,000 people. We're losing a congressional seat, and now bringing the total district up to about 820,000 people. And I'm running to go to Washington and represent this section of the Ohio population, and to do different things of legislation or bills, or sit on committees, and advocate for and be the voice of the people in this district. I think that you have a lot more questions about me in general, but I would love to answer those in due time, with some of those other questions that you have coming down the line, I bet.
Yeah, definitely. That takes me right into the kind of the next one more about you is like maybe why did you decide to run for office, and then what about you and your experience qualifies you to be in Congress and to hold political office, and then maybe you could speak to what some of your strengths and maybe even some weaknesses are.
Yeah, excellent. So, what made me decide to run for office is I feel that I am a candidate that is for the time that we need it right now, because of a little bit about my background, and now we can just talk a little bit about where I came from. I was born in a place called Slavic Village in Cleveland, Ohio, which is urban. I've moved around Northeast Ohio quite a bit, and is rural, to rural places and suburbs and so on and so forth. I was I just lost my train of thought. That's what I did. um,
It's all
but
good.
I'm biracial. I went to the University of Hawaii, and studied political science there. I traveled abroad and studied Chinese in Beijing University, and lived in China for 13 years. Part of most of my career was in Shanghai, where I was an executive in hospitality and F&B. So I was the general manager, chief operating officer, as well as operations director over there, with up to 200 employees, millions of dollars a year in revenue, and had to communicate and work with people from many different nationalities. Probably close to 3 or 4 dozen in one venue at one time. From British to Serbian to Kosovo to Chad to Guatemala. Just a lot of different people in once, trying to achieve the same goal. So I've always been able to bring people together in that way, through language and culture, but trying to create a common goal. I went to got a full scholarship in Taiwan to do my MBA. So I did my MBA in Taiwan, and while I was there, now it's going into bridging into cryptocurrencies, where I started my first podcast in 2017. I got into crypto in 2016, but I started my first podcast in 2017 called Crypto 101. It was to educate people to get into cryptocurrency, because when I got in, there wasn't a basic starter, starter pack to get into cryptocurrency. I had to look up what is HODL. I actually had to ask a Reddit group, what does that mean? And I felt that, while I'm learning this, I'm going to bring people along and try to explain, what does rect mean? What does HODL mean? What is maker and taker fees? How do you sign up for Coinbase? Just those different things to try to onboard people. So I did that from mid 2017 until I sold that podcast, that turned into 2 podcasts, that turned into a couple blog sites and a media company. And I sold that, uh, and then had moved on to San Diego, which now I am a full time podcaster for Decrypt Media. That's what I was asking Jason earlier. And do their daily news show. And so every day, 6 or 7 days a week, I talk about daily crypto news. So that goes into why do I believe that I am experienced to hold political office? Well, I think right now we need unity, right, for the most part. We need people that has experience internationally and nationally, moving around the states. We need people that have a understanding of emerging tech and that's looking for different solutions for the future. Somebody that is solution based, somebody that can bring people together. And with what I've just spoken with you, my moving around, my different experiences in life, my different skill sets that I built through my career and my life. I think that we need somebody right now to wrap people together so we don't have so much division. And so that's why I'm running for political office. And I think that's why I feel that I am going to be a good congressperson and a good representative for this district.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, like, I will say something about kind of like what we've been doing here is I feel like we've gotten really fortunate in getting to speak to some really amazing people. And I've noticed sort of a trend where it's like, I feel like the right people are finding, like you said, this is like the right time. These are people that, are like some of the people we've spoken to are a doctor, they work in Silicon Valley. They have all different kinds of ranges of like real world experience, as opposed to sort of like, people who just want to be career politicians. And so, yeah, I've been noticing that fire in people just kind of being stirred up.
Well, I think, and I want to comment to that, is I think that a lot of people, I think that why that's emerging is because people don't want that. I don't know if that the people cognitively or consciously know that that's what they want, but I think that we're seeing a lot of career politicians go through the normal path and of moving their way up through different political offices they hold or seats that they hold. And it's just still maintaining the status quo. And we are getting to a point right now where not only do we have division, we have gridlock in Congress, and there's still a lot of things that we need to address as a nation, as different districts around that nation, especially here in Ohio. And we need to have these entrepreneurs, these people that come out that aren't from that typical path to kind of like go in there and just give a fresh eyes on things. Take their individual experiences and really propose new ways to do things.
Yeah, I was going to say one last thing before I hand it back to Jenny, is that I definitely feel like a lot of times, when you're on the outside, politics feels so far away, or that we have no control over it. And so it's really refreshing to know that there's people who are willing to go to bat for us. So yeah, thank you again for all this.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. Matthew, a personal silly question first, since you mentioned that you were in China, right? So do you speak Chinese?
I do.
Wow, I bet you speak better than I do. So
I don't know about that, but I do speak. I studied at Beijing University. At one point, I think it was pretty good, but I don't speak much anymore in Northeast Ohio.
Gotcha. Is it Mandarin or Cantonese or what?
It's Mandarin. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So this question is actually a personal question from me because I was always curious. Now you're running for Congress in Ohio. Now I think we've heard that Ohio is the state where like whichever the candidate or the presidency that Ohio picks, so does the country, something like that. Is that true? Can you dive into that a little bit more, or is that like a rumor?
I think it used to be true. The Ohio was a very it still is a purple state, but it has turned red over the years, and we've also lost congressional members throughout at every census. So right now we're losing another seat, and we're going down to 15 congressional members. So you are right; it used to be that way. I don't think it's that much anymore. Some of the hotbeds go to like Florida now.
Ah, I see. All right. So my question is, what are some of the most interesting things you have learned so far getting involved with politics and running for Congress?
Yeah, and that's an awesome question, full transparency. I saw these questions beforehand, everybody, and I thought mostly about this one. And the most interesting thing I learned about getting involved in politics and running for Congress is authenticity. It's very easy to lose your authenticity, it's lose while you're running, lose who you are while you're running. And that's because of party politics. That's because the one side or the other side is trying to pull you to their messaging or pull you in a way that is basically making you part of the machine. And what you really need to do, right, when you're running is to really, search down deep and figure out who you are while you're running, and make sure that you're strong enough to pursue that regardless of the pulls. And I can tell you right now, when I first got in, it's kind of like an ocean tide or a current. You didn't know how strong that current was until you jumped in the ocean. And I jumped in and I see that it's strong. But I feel that I'm strong enough to maintain that authenticity and be true to myself.
That's cool. And you know what? I commend you. I mean, you're probably are, I don't know how many already, Aaron, maybe seven, eight invites or guests on our show.
Mm.
And you're actually just share something honest that no no other candidate share, meaning that you just share that we share the question with you beforehand, right? So I guess now that is out in essence, and that's certainly fine. Aaron and I and Tim, by the way, everybody, Tim is still traveling a lot this summer, so that's why we're going to start having Dan Whitfield for our special guest host until Tim comes back. So if you see our digital flyers that do not have Tim, that's because of that reason. So Dan's going to step in, and I'm not sure, Matthew, if you know Dan. Have you and Dan met? If
No, we
not,
haven't. No.
yeah, if not, Aaron should definitely introduce you guys. He's a great guy, and you are a great guy. Of all of the guests that we have invited so far, I believe both you guys are top notch when it comes to knowledge about cryptocurrency. But we have a short time tonight, so let's dive straight into that. I just wanted to share about integrity and honesty. Was that Matthew mentioned that he did receive all the our questions first, which is all cool because a lot of our invites they're curious what kind of questions do we ask them. Some don't, but some do, and obviously Matthew did not ask. We just sent it to him. And he was being honest that he did have a chance to read all of the questions. So, but that's integrity and that's honesty, and so that shows a lot of character when you're running for a public office. So anyway, my second out of two questions, and then Aaron can step in again, is what are some of the major issues you would like to tackle? What do you feel that is most important that needs to be solved as soon as possible?
Um, so there is the basic platform that I'm running on, and I'm going to add one more because of the cryptocurrency aspect. But my basic platform that I'm running on is manufacturing. I think manufacturing, I think, is super important. I think we're going to get into more of that later on in this conversation. But we need to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. and reshore our supply chain. I can't stress enough how much that I think we all feel it around the country right now, where we can't get items or things are delayed or we see companies slowing down or, I have a couple items that's been on order for almost 6 months and we can't get them. We saw during the pandemic that, our PPE was made in Italy. So when Italy shut down, our frontline workers were without PPE. We see that Ford has to cut production on the cars because, the chips are made somewhere else. And so I feel that we need to really make an effort to bring manufacturing back to not only the United States, but where I'm running in Ohio, where we are a manufacturing state. We've always made things over here, and we have to bring that back. Small businesses and entrepreneurship is something I'm really passionate about. Get people to open small businesses to make sure that we maintain our small businesses. I think that before the pandemic, we thought that maintaining small businesses was impossible, right? Walmarts and Targets and Home Depots, what can we do? They're going to just, undermine all of our small businesses, all of our mom and pop shops. But during COVID, we made a conscious decision to go there. I remember I drove, an hour to the other side of the city just to go to the restaurants I like during the COVID or the lockdown time or the pandemic get carryout food and bring it back because I want to make sure they stayed open. So we have this conscious shift that we know how important these small businesses are, that we need to perpetuate, and we need to continue that within every city, every main street around the country, to make sure that that these small businesses thrive, and people open new small businesses. And with that, I want to make sure that these entrepreneurs can know that any small business is good, and bring dignity and I guess sexiness back to the trades in high school. Let's get more people not looking outside of just going to university and trying to find the that path, but make sure that we're promoting and showing that there are many different ways to make a great living and get those skills back to people. And so we have to do that in high school. We need to do that in trade schools. We need to do that across the country. The other one is a couple of other ones are, we really have to figure out our healthcare system, or we have to really, really work on our healthcare system. I want to make sure that our voting is expanded, not contracted. That is very important to me, that we are making sure that everybody gets to vote and doesn't have to wait 4 hours in line without a bottle of water. That's also very important to me. And also unity, and I think I touched on that a little bit earlier. Is I'm running because I want to be a unifier, not a divider. I am never going to play the party politics of pointing fingers at the other side and saying it's all your fault or whatever, because I want to say that we need to have more conversations. We need to talk. We need to empathize. We need to create solutions. And right now, all we're doing is playing the blame game and making more problems. And that's not sustainable for the future. That's not sustainable for good legislation. That's not going to be a way that we're going to have, solutions that we all can rally around. And so I want to make sure that we change that. But if we're talking about crypto, I want to make sure that we are setting regulatory framework for these companies, these innovators, these businesses, that so they can thrive and innovate and grow within the space within the United States. Right now, it's just so opaque. It's so gray. It's so it's just there's companies that are there that are operating right now that are still where we're still wondering, are they going to be able to operate? And that shouldn't be the case. And I think that we really need to tackle that right now, to make sure that these companies aren't, just that we have consumer confidence in these products that are being pushed out, and that these entrepreneurs and these innovators have confidence in the products that they're building. So those are some things I really want to tackle.
Wow, great stuff. Aaron?
Yeah, so actually, you brought up consumer confidence, and so this brings me back to something that I wanted to discuss, which is, there's so many politicians that end up making empty promises as to what they want to accomplish. They run on these talking points to get elected, and then once they get the job, it seems like nothing happens. It's almost like they go in alive, and they get in there and they're a zombie. And so, how do you plan to stay true to yourself and to sort of insulate yourself from those, like, for example, the traps of like a lobbyist bribery?
That's a great question, but I think it's a very easy answer. Man, I've always swam upstream. I've always been the outcast. One thing I didn't mention, even though I did say I went to university and I did my master's, I dropped out of high school because I wanted to do it my way. I will get things done, and people hire me for jobs in the things that I've always done because I got shit done. Full stop. And I didn't care if I had to argue with the boss, my boss. I didn't care if I had to do things that were hard because I wanted to do the job and get things done. And I always, made sure that I stayed true to myself. And that's why when I had these jobs, these people I've worked with, even in my younger days, I stayed with them for years. It wasn't just one time. It wasn't just flopping from job to job. I made sure that even though I argued with them, even though that, we always butt heads, but I was doing it for the best of the business, the best for the employees, and I got my things done. I think that when we start electing politicians and people, we have to find those people that don't mind breaking things, don't mind being a little insubordinate, don't have the clearest path to success or to their careers. Because in my opinion, there's people that know how to play the games, right? and they go out, they learn how to play the games, and they get comfortable in those games. And then you have people that try to change it and make the games to what they feel is best. And I think that's one thing that we have to look for in people getting to office.
That might actually end up being my favorite answer of the night, because I also dropped out of college to do things my own way, and so it's good to see someone doing well. And so let's see here. So my next question has to do with the economy. I know that's really important to you, and what's going on over there in Ohio. And so the pandemic has completely transformed everything. How various industries operate. Obviously, the stimulus and the payments have had a major effect on our labor force. I was curious, how do you see employment and job opportunities moving forward with this? There's so much innovation happening, so much change. And also now people are looking for both better jobs and higher pay.
Well, they should get better jobs and higher pay. And we got to bring those better jobs and higher paying jobs back. And that's what I said earlier: is manufacturing and promoting entrepreneurship and small business. Look, we need to change the way that we think. We need to start promoting that these trade jobs are sexy again. We need to start promoting getting manufacturing back here. We need to start talking about living wage. We need to start talking about how to, for lack of a better word, build back better. Using some Biden political jargon. I'm sorry, but it's kind of true. And we do have to really, incentivize companies to be here. We have to, rally as a nation to fix the infrastructure. And when I mean infrastructure, I'm just not talking about patching, roads and mending bridges. I'm talking about creating a 21st century America into 22nd century America that will have the staying power for jobs, for good wages, for our supply chain, for our national security. It has to happen, and that's how we're going to combat and get this get labor force and bring back good jobs and high pay.
That actually reminds me. I think still people are kind of unaware of some of the things that are happening in other countries. Where I'm not sure if you're familiar, but like in China, where they're building very high tech smart cities with like crazy infrastructure that are also green, renewable. And yeah, so people I think don't realize that we're actually falling very quickly behind in that department.
I lived in China for 13 years. I saw them from 2004 until 2016 when I went to do my master's in Taiwan and lived in Taiwan. Look, 8% of their GDP is going into infrastructure, and part of that infrastructure is to build, the state of the art manufacturing plants. My grandfather has a company, or we have a family company of forging here in Cleveland, and that plant was built by the U.S. government for World War II efforts. And in the World War II efforts, that plant, and I think I'm getting my family history right here, made landing gear, forged landing gear for World War II planes. And then after the war was over, my grandfather came in and bought the plant, and then we created jobs. We created an economy within that part of Cleveland. So we did. I like what you said there. Is like people don't realize how much China is putting into their infrastructure when it comes to not even smart cities and green cities, but their manufacturing and their their connectivity and their financial sector. So like I feel that we need to do the same.
Jenny, you're up.
Alrighty, Matthew, I'm going to give you a curveball. What that means is this question is not on the list.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I'm sure you can handle it fine. I'm going to touch on the topic of Elizabeth Warren, right?
Hmm.
So obviously we are rooting for you to win. And that, assuming that you will win and that you're in it now, you're on Capitol Hill, and assuming you have 15 minutes to sit one on one with Elizabeth Warren. And the topic of discussion is cryptocurrency. Okay.
Hmm.
Now we all know that Elizabeth Warren is literally going after Gary Gensler and Janet Yellen to crack down on cryptocurrency. Obviously, I believe you are pro cryptocurrency. So within that 15 minutes, or you're welcome to do less if you wish, what are some of the things that you would say to Elizabeth Warren to hopefully have her train of thought change a little bit about cryptocurrency and look at cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin or Dogecoin, or even NFTs, or some of the DeFi sectors, etc. Though I believe that some or should be regulated. What would you say that you believe that she will, sit back and say, well, you know what, Matthew, I think you're right. I'm gonna go back and read up a little bit more on that. So take the floor and share with us what are some of the things that you would talk to Elizabeth Warren about cryptocurrency within the 15 minutes that you have with her.
Well, thank you for the curveball, but it wasn't that much of a curveball. I think you just gave me a softball underhand pitch, but I
All right. See,
appreciate it.
I knew it. I
Um,
knew you could handle it.
Look, I think that's a two-part answer. The first part is Elizabeth Warren. What she's trying to do is protect the consumer. That's always what she's trying to do. And I said this earlier in our talk today: is we need to create a regulatory framework for these companies to operate without making sure that American citizens are getting rug pulls or trying to get into the new meme coin that just pops out of nowhere because somebody knows how to make it. Look, we need to make sure that this industry grows. We need to make sure that these companies and these cryptocurrencies stay around. We need to figure out how Bitcoin fits into our economy. I mean, look, the chat, I'm sorry, the I guess the label of what Bitcoin is still isn't determined even in the Bitcoin community. Is it a store of value? Is it a digital gold? Is it a currency? Is it a and we need to figure that out because there's no way to make a regulatory framework so that we can allow it to thrive in America without first defining what it is, right? And let me just go back to say that again, Elizabeth Warren is just trying to protect the consumer. They don't want the pump and dump schemes and the rug pulls and the scams and the fly by night crypto exchange that exits and some dudes next running around India with $1 billion. That's what I think she's worried about. So let's create a regulatory framework that does not stifle innovation, that promotes cryptocurrencies, that promotes these emerging economies and financial products, and let's see how they work out into the American economy. But there's a second part to this, and that's what I'll tell her, by the way. And I think that that's exactly what she wants, and I think that that fits in with what everybody else wants, and I think that's a good middle ground. But the second part of this is if people have conversations like this, and crypto Twitter comes out and supports candidates financially and with promotion and marketing and all these other things, we will have a lot of crypto either savvy or other people or people that know about this space or innovators or tech enthusiasts in Washington D.C. So the voice is louder. Is a new young freshman congressperson going to go down and sit with an experienced veteran Elizabeth Warren, ex-presidential candidate, and really make some headway? No, but we, the crypto space, can. People who support emerging technologies can. If we start, unifying together. Look, there's lobbies, and groups for every social issue out there. You name it, there is a PAC giving money to candidates that believe in that thing. Where's ours? Where's the crypto PAC? Where's the millions of dollars going to the candidates that's running right now to help them get into office? And if we can get that, and we can start getting the people that see this new economy, see this new future for these emerging innovations and financial products, or these new companies and these new great ideas from brilliant people coming out into office, then we have an easier task and a louder voice.
Matthew, I've got a follow-up question right there about, where's ours? Now, if I'm not mistaken, and everybody can certainly go on Twitter search or Google, but at the recent Bitcoin Miami, which I believe it's about a month to a month and a half ago, a Bitcoin maxi, his name is Max Geisler. I'm sure most people heard of him. I'm not sure about Dogecoin community though, but
You mean Max Kaiser?
Geyser, yeah. Geisler, right?
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Okay, so go on Twitter and just search him out, Max, M-A-X, Geisler, Geisler. Now he is definitely a Bitcoin maxi. At the event, the Bitcoin Miami event, he said something. He was interviewed. He was in a white suit. He interviewed with someone, and he said, at least for the Bitcoin community, I believe he was speaking for the Bitcoin community, that they own the politician. I think, I can't really quote him, but something like that. He says that, we own the politician. We can buy him out. They do whatever we want to tell them. So do you think that's true? Have you heard anything about the Bitcoin community having lobbyists speaking to politicians, or those are just naysayers, and he was saying things and there's no backings for it?
Well, I really don't know what he said. I don't know the person.
Oh, I spell his last name incorrectly. It is Kaiser. Yeah,
Okay. Oh, I do know
yeah,
Max Kaiser. Yeah,
Keiser. My apologies.
yeah, no, Max Kaiser. I don't know what he said, but I do know that there are probably lobbyists in there. I have spoken to regulatory bodies and people who are crypto lobbies in there. I do know that Coinbase is obviously talking to people in Washington for regulatory purposes or maybe even lobbying purposes. So they do exist, but that's not what I'm saying that we need in the crypto community. Like what I'm saying is, if you go to, for example, again, pick your social social issue of the day, and you search for that, you will see that people are the community or people who believe the same thing are donating to candidates, and I have not seen a lot of money coming into candidates that hodl Bitcoin or hodl cryptocurrencies or in the space or work in the space that are running for office. And finding those people and actually lifting them up as a grassroots community. So, it's not about Max Kaiser. I really honestly probably don't want Max Kaiser money, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do want the grassroots Bitcoin hodler, money to say, hey, you know what? I see that you hodl because, every candidate that runs for Congress has to have an ethics disclosure. So all of my hodlings are there out in the open public for everybody. So as every other congressional candidate, I could promise you right now that I am more that I take this much more seriously than anybody else out there. But what I'm trying to say is we need a grassroots movement of people that have a clear understanding that if we want the regulations in Washington to go the way that we want them to, we got to get the people that understand the tech, that have been working in the industry, that have a little skin in the game into Washington. And I keep trying to say this to people, like, look, $1,000 from 1,000 people in the crypto space that says, hey, Matthew Diemer can go to Washington and help guide these regulations so that we don't have Coinbase shutting down or Binance.us or FTX.us or these other financial products. And that would change the game, right? 1,000 times 1,000 will change the game for like this political campaign, and 1,000 times 1,000 or 500 times 2,000 will change the political campaign of somebody else that's doing the same thing. And next thing you know, if they win, they go in then there, and then they're helping shape the future of this space.
And I think we can certainly agree with that, because we've seen that earlier this year. I guess we can call that the Redditors movement. How they did it. How they kill a bunch of fund managers by all the little guys got together and moved one stock, and when they did that, it became a tsunami. So totally believe in that. Aaron, go for it.
Okay, yeah. So I want to go back to something a little bit before we get too much deeper into cryptocurrency. I think it's a topic that you and I both have some strong feelings about, which would be the healthcare system. It is completely broken here, and I was just curious, kind of what your vision for how it should operate, what that would be, and how should people pay for it? How should they have access to it?
The healthcare question, I can't say that I'm going to have all the answers for the healthcare question, because first I want to make sure that with anything, I want to make sure that my girlfriend's a doctor. I want to make sure that they have the leading seat at the table, the people who work in the industry, the nurses, the doctors, and tell us what the patients need, because they see it on the ground. They understand what they're dealing with. I think that's the first thing. But from what I hear, the whole system needs to be gutted, and that's not going to happen. Let's just be honest. We're not going to gut the whole system. But I will say that we do need much more transparency. and make it be a free market. And the free market has the consumers involved as well. Look, I have no clue how much a blood test costs in going to the doctor. It might cost different from different insurers from different hospitals. And so that doesn't allow me to make good choices as a consumer for my healthcare needs. So we just have to have better transparency. We also really need to we need to expand Medicaid. We need to make sure that people get insurance. We need to also, and I'm very strongly adamant of this, we need to have people have their family doctors. We need to have people have access to family doctors from the beginning of their life until they get old. If their doctor gets old and they retire, they pass it to somebody else that can continue to care for them, so they know what's going on with their bodies. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. You should have access to basic blood checks, basic 2 times a year physicals, just healthcare checks to understand before something gets too bad. Let's say, hey, you need to either change your diet, change your lifestyle, change this or that, or something's popping up, so we can have this preemptive care. And also, I just want to say that I think it's absurd that basic things that have technologies that have been around for hundreds of years, still we're getting charged an arm and a leg, no pun intended, for like stitches, broken bone. Like we know how to set bones and put a plaster cast on. It doesn't cost much. And just go ahead and find a doctor and have checkups. So I think that there's a lot of very low hanging fruit that we can just basically make sure that people have more access to, more knowledge about their own personal health. Take these very I guess old or very simple technologies, and expand that to be either very, very, very cheap or free for a lot of people, and have transparency in the system, so we know exactly what things are costing, so we can also be a participatory of the market that is healthcare, and then we start build it out from there.
All right. So then we'll go back to crypto, and you spoke about it a little bit at the very beginning of the conversation, but yeah, could you talk about maybe like some of the first cryptocurrency? I could probably assume that's probably Bitcoin, but yeah, how did that look back then when you were a crypto noob?
I'm sorry, what was the question? Oh, by the way, I didn't say a public option, by the way, for healthcare, which I think is very important. But I'm sorry, what was the question?
Basically, if you could just talk about, like when did you first discover cryptocurrency? What were some of the first ones that caught your eye, and how that got your interest, really, and what made you want to keep looking into it?
Oh, bro, I can't tell you about all the bags that I'm hodling from Poloniex. And the what was that box that they had? The chat box? I can't remember what it's called. Man, what was it, Aaron?
Sorry, which one?
Remember Poloniex? The chat box was called something like
I don't. Sorry.
the damn it. Well, anyway, 2016, 2017, Bittrex Poloniex bags are still heavy.
Yeah.
Still didn't figure out how to exit them. So I can't tell you like what happened all there. But I like everybody, we've started hearing about Bitcoin in 2013, obviously, and of course you didn't pull the trigger. And then 2016 came around. My bartender, he's a funny dude, and he was in the middle of the shift trying to buy Bitcoin from somebody in China, sending him a WeChat payment, and then so that Bitcoin went to his wallet. So we're in Shanghai. He was sending to some guy in Guangzhou, and then he was sending it back. So anyway, he was doing this, and then that's what made me I was like, oh yeah, I started learning about this in 2013. I never got into it. And he's like, so he actually started, telling me how to get into it, and then from that on, it was down the rabbit hole into 2017, mid 2017, where I'm, asking questions online of what is, in January of 2017, what is Rect, what is HODL, what is a maker taker fee, and stuff like that. Is Coinbase safe? And then decided to make that podcast. So basically, that's my entry into cryptocurrency.
Awesome. Jenny, it's yours.
So we have one of our listeners wanted to ask a follow-up question about Elizabeth Warren. I believe he's in the room. His name is LeBrian. Basically, he thinks that if you can comment more on it, that he doesn't think regulation will fix rug pull. So
We'll fix what? I'm sorry.
Rug pulls. Yeah.
Rug pull, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
So, do you think that he was saying that there have always been scams preying on people's desire to make money, and there will always be to the end of time. That's his belief. What do you think about that?
I'm sorry. I got a phone call in the middle of that, so I actually just cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Again, a listener wanted to know, well, not know, but he thinks that regulation will not fix the topic of rug pulls, and he
Hmm.
thinks that there have always been scams preying
Hmm.
on people's desire to make money,
Hmm.
and they will continue to do so until the end of time. So, what do you think about that? True or not, or do you think regulation will either stop or slow down rug pulls?
Well, I mean, this listener is not wrong. I mean, but that's like zeroism, right? We're talking about zeroism. Like if we don't get to zero rug pulls or we get to zero scams, we get to then regulation doesn't work, and even in the current markets there are bad actors, but we are fighting against that. I think when it comes to regulations, what we want to see is, or at least what I want to see, is frameworks so that the innovation and the companies and the building can continue to happen without the fear of regulations or regulatory bodies coming in and shutting you down. For example, BlockFi is operating, right? And just the other day, Texas is coming up to say, "Hey, I think that you're a security and you can't operate in Texas." Well, they've been operating in Texas, but they're operating in other states now. So it's like these are the kind of regulatory frameworks that we really need to address, so that companies like BlockFi, like them or hate them. I'm not saying anything about them. What I'm saying is, like, they're operating within the United States, and now they're getting shut down in different states, and it's like so murky. So then, where does your consumer confidence come in? So we're talking about, hey, we want Bitcoin to be a thing, right? We were saying, oh, it should be a currency, or it should be, we should do like, what was it, Argentina the other day? I'm sorry, I'm mixed. El Salvador, sorry, El Salvador, and incorporate it into our financial system. But we don't even have the basic frameworks to allow these companies to even exist, without having, and then so consumers want to come in here and say, oh, I want to hook up my Coinbase. Well, the narrative hasn't been the government says, hey, this is how cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin is regulated, or this is how they should operate. Coinbase is a totally cool entity. You have consumer confidence, start buying Bitcoin, and then other banks and other companies can start using that framework to start incorporating into their financial products. And then people can start having confidence to, buy a little Bitcoin because they know that the government's not going to ban it because dark money or illegal or whatever. Like, these are the basic things that we need to do for consumer confidence and business confidence and entrepreneurship. So, like, yeah, we can't think about zeroism when it comes to scams. I mean, obviously we want to protect that, but there's always going to be a bad actor that's going to be crafty and figure something out. What I'm talking about is trying our best to protect the consumers, protect the businesses, foster innovation in this space, and build customer confidence. And once we do that, I think that the Bitcoin and the crypto space and the blockchain space is going to take off in a way that we have never seen before, while
Yeah.
protecting people.
Yeah, certainly, totally agree with you there. On the topic of crypto, because I know a lot of our listeners are into the crypto space, so I'm gonna ask the next question. How did you get to be involved with a crypto podcast? I know a lot of our listeners do not know that about you. How was that experience, and what are some of the things you learn that you find interesting?
Well, like I said, I started crypto podcasting in 2017, so I did that for quite some time and had all kinds of different guests on throughout the years, many different companies and innovations, and guests. Um, and now I work for Decrypt Media, and I do their daily news show. So every day I put out a podcast at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Pacific Time, just to go over the daily news. So how did I get involved? Again, like I said, because I wanted to educate. I wanted to make sure that people didn't have the struggles that I went through to try to learn the space. And then I wanted to make sure that everything that I had in discovery of learning about the different companies, about the different ideas, about the different ways of thought that are coming out of the space, that I was sharing that with people. And I think that that's the beauty of an emerging industry, is that you get in where you fit in, or you even find your own space to try to create in here in this space. And that's what I really like about the crypto space, is that just put in the work and do the work, and you can find a way to engage and foster the community or foster the industry.
So Decrypt, definitely you and Jason need to talk because he also writes for Decrypt too. So that's pretty awesome. Aaron?
Yeah, so this might seem like a simple question, but I'd like to hear from your perspective as someone who's gotten to talk to so many, let's say, experts about crypto and people who work in that. Why should people adopt and use cryptocurrency, and what are the benefits?
That's actually the hardest question on this. You thought it was simple.
Yeah.
There's the curveball, bro, right there. Um, I don't know if people should adopt and use cryptocurrency, and I don't know what the benefits are, because again, I think it goes back to the framework and what comes out. Look, we have a big discovery phase of cryptocurrency still. When it comes to how Bitcoin is classified or how we're even thinking about it, there's still multiple ways of speaking about Bitcoin. Is it a store of value, digital gold, a currency? Are people going to spend it? Are they going to find it's going to be layer two ways or Lightning that's going to spend it, and people are going to start spending their Bitcoin? Or, I mean, look at the DeFi products that are coming out there, the NFT products. So I think when you're saying cryptocurrency, I'm assuming you're talking about the whole space. I think that there's still a huge discovery to figure out how everything's going to shake out. And the thing I really want to just say is, like, it goes back to regulation and allowing the discovery of these companies and of these niches to play out and see why people will find the benefit to them. Because I know there's benefits there. There's benefits to a lot of different things that are coming out in the space. But we need to figure out, first, make sure that the discovery happens. Allow people to find, or these companies or these coins to find their niche. Allow these companies to start incorporating them into their business models. Allow governments to even incorporate blockchains into different aspects of their governance, or companies to come out with solutions for governance via blockchains. And then people will find the benefits. So. I think that's a very personal thing, why people should invest in Bitcoin. I obviously hodl Bitcoin, and I have that little as some of my portfolio. But that's a personal choice, and people have to figure that out for themselves, and that's also the market figuring it out for itself.
Okay, awesome. And by the way, that was a very responsible answer. Yeah, so I do have another question. A lot of people are really hoping to make a lot of money. Sometimes they're investing in cryptos for the actual project, for the use case, for the technology. But being honest, I would say most people are investing hoping that they get that 10x or 100x return. And so a question that I have is, if the wealthy are actually, of course, in the best position to be able to invest in crypto, whether that's being early, being the first to be informed on these opportunities, and obviously having the most money to be able to invest, should we even really be looking at crypto as a solution in terms of wage gap or lifting people out of poverty?
And by crypto, I'm gonna assume you're talking about just these different blockchains, or these different ideas,
And
or
honestly, I would say kind of both, whether it's blockchains or because there's also people that are sort of confusing tokens with sort of like new projects, if you know what I mean. And so I think that's also sort of like a lack of education or awareness. And so I think it's just like to the overall space of crypto currency, because a lot of people get it all kind of confused or lump it all together, and oftentimes don't know what they're investing in.
right, right. Well, it's hard to tell. It's hard to say that you won't get rich when you saw a lot of people get rich.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to take a step back there. And when it comes to the wealth gap, obviously Elon Musk is going to have with his 1.3 billion dollars worth of Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin goes to 100K, he's going to be a lot richer, and that's going to any of my hodlings is going to not even make a dent into his housing. So yeah, he just got richer off of that. So it's hard to argue with the wealth gap. But I also don't know the evolution of Bitcoin or 100 years or 200 years down the road of what a solution like a limited supply would do for economies or for money in general, and how that would evolve. But what I will say about this is I want to. I think that the financial solutions, the financial products that are coming out in, say, DeFi, are creating, and also things that are coming out like Robinhood or Coinbase, and the ability to invest is creating access. And that's something that the average person didn't have before, is access. Before, it's like if I want to buy stocks, how do you even know how to buy stocks? So you had to be an accredited investor, or so all these products, like right now, for just investing and buying, are opening up to the mom and pop to be able to put $10 in and buy a little Tesla stock, or $100 in and buy just a little bit of Bitcoin from many different avenues. And that is an amazing thing, especially even they're tokenizing stocks now, and that's creating more access, right? And that's what I want to see, is the average person to have more access to these financial products that they didn't have access before. And then moving into like DeFi and access, look, like I told you at the beginning of this, I grew up in a town called, or I'm sorry, a region of Cleveland called Slavic Village. The median home price in Slavic Village right now is around $39,000. So do you think that somebody who has a $39,000 home with a mortgage, maybe, and maybe half of it's paid off, they make maybe $20,000, $21,000 a year living in that home, has the same financial access as somebody that has a $500,000 home and makes $250,000 a year, or even a millionaire that has a net worth of $10 million or $20 million? No, but what we're seeing that there are products for financial access to allow people of modest means to enjoy um, uh, the same products as that were allowed to, or afforded to, or allotted to the people that had a lot of capital. And what I mean by that, I mean we're talking about using whatever collateral you have to take out a small loan, in DeFi space. So let's say if you have that $40,000 house, and you can, and we can, somehow collateralize the equity you have in it. If it's $20,000, and you can take out a $5,000 loan to fix your steps, or to start that business, or to fix your roof. What you're doing is you're perpetuating wealth creation and wealth growth there, right? Because they're allowed to maintain the property values maintain or go up. And even though it's just, we look at it as only $5,000, it is an access that will, I think, empower the people that didn't have that access before, to build wealth and or whatever, because that access is there. So I think that it's a yes and or but. Yes, there is a still big wage gap that we have to worry about and think about. And no, I don't think that investing in Bitcoin is going to change that much. There will still be very, very, very rich people, and yes, there is a lot of Dogecoin or meme coins, or Shiba Inu coins, or baby Dogecoin gambling going on. Fuicious that what is a was a 14-year-old trans boy, and documented his journey from 14 to 18 years old, doing surrealist art on his iPad, and sold it for $2.1 million. And now that person, through all that pain and anguish and discovery and journey of his life, now can actually have some stability in creating his art. I think that's freaking amazing. I love that. I love the access, again, that people. I had somebody on the show from. He's an artist from Mexico City, and had a full-time job and did art on the side. Had nowhere to sell it. I was trying to go to galleries, and then started doing it in digital, and then started doing it in NFTs, and now is a full-time NFT artist. Using blockchain tech and making NFTs. That is access. That's what I'm talking about. So any company that is expanding the for different people. I don't care if it's artists or people have the little bit of equity, or just want to, buy a little stock or Bitcoin, or do something that they have never been able to do before to change their situation, or follow their dreams or their passion, or build wealth. That's what the companies I love. That's the projects I love in the blockchain space. I don't know if they're big or small. Those are the ones I'm looking for, and those are the ones that I really like to focus on.
Awesome. Sounds good. Jenny?
Yeah, quick follow up on that one, Matthew. When you said that you like it, does it in terms like like sitting as can you? I mean, if can you be a politician and sit on the board member? Or are you looking to invest in those companies, or why would you be interested to follow some of those companies? I'm just curious.
Because I like the stories, If I was a politician and sitting on their company board, no. I would love to sit on committees that looked at oversight or regulations for to make sure that these companies still can grow and thrive, and people have access to these companies that are expanding to these different people. But I just like these stories that people are coming out. I mean, there's nothing better to see somebody to be. I love seeing people win, especially when you have when you don't know if you're gonna win, and you keep putting something into your passion, right? Like these artists that are just keep doing it over and over and over again. And even if somebody like Beeple, he's rich as hell now, $69 million for his work of art, but that's 5,000 days he did that art for, not knowing he was going to get a payoff, right? I mean, that is commitment. And he didn't know he was going to get millions of dollars. He hoped so. He didn't think it was going to come that early. We didn't. The person who sold the art for 2.1, the 18-year-old, didn't know he was going to sell it for 2.1, but they loved their art, and that gave him a way to show it to people, and it was so good that people were like, "Dude, where did you come from?" Like, and that's what I love. Is I love when people win, and these companies are allowing people to win, and so that's why I like to follow these companies.
Interesting. All right. So I think we are at 6 o'clock now. I think we're right there. If any of our listeners have a question or two, we will try to release Matthew hopefully within the next 5 to 7 minutes at max. So if you have a question, please go ahead and click the request there. And if it's within the next 5 to 7 minutes that we have time, I'll accept that you could come up and ask Matthew a question directly. But speaking of NFTs, Matthew, you were talking about the 18-year-old. I think it's the name is, I can't pronounce it, but Fewocious. Is that the artist that you're talking about?
I think it's Fewocious. I never saw it, heard it said, but it's FEWO.
It's Victor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
name is Victor, I believe. Yeah, so yeah, so Victor did really really well with NFTs. My last question for you, since it's time, is obviously, are you accepting crypto for campaign donations?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So if you go to diemerforcongress.com, DIEMER for congress.com, you can see there's two donate buttons: donate and donate with crypto. That was one of the things I really wanted with my campaign, is to show that that I am trying my best as as a legislator already, just trying to come out to try to promote what I believe that is innovative technologies, and I made sure that it was incorporated in the campaign very early. And like I said, to people who are in the crypto space, if we rally together and donate to candidates like myself and others, to in a serious way, and we have the power to go to Washington and to make sure that we perpetuate this industry.
Gotcha. And can you share a little bit more? Does your campaign utilizes BitPay or some? How do you process? Because I'm sure when you accept cryptocurrency, you would have to liquidate in order to pay for expenses, right? Or how can you share us a bit more about that?
That's a beautiful question. Yes. So we do use BitPay. It was the BitPay created I'm going to call it the KYC or AML system, that allows us to take the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, because you need to have information on the people. So because of campaign finance rules, and again, This goes back to regulation, and and regulation doesn't mean regulating to stop something. It means to just setting up frameworks. I want to use the word framework. Is like there hasn't been a regulatory framework for accepting cryptocurrencies for a campaign since 2014. Nobody's have said anything about it. So the lawyers that I've used, and BitPay and my compliance team, we are all trying to figure out like what can and can't we do with cryptocurrencies and taking for a campaign. So it's been, kind of like going back and forth with different precedents that's been set, but there's been no direction by anybody. But so, I mean, yeah, we're kind of like still trying to pave the way for this. But yeah, we use BitPay, but again, there isn't much clarity on how to do it, but we do have to liquidate it when we do get it. And we actually asked him, that was part of the things we asked the lawyer is, well, can we just hodl? And he said, I think that you can only hodl up to $100. And at that point, if we get a sizable donation, there's no point just to keep $100 of Bitcoin in there. Let's just we just said liquidate it all, because then it's just transaction fees and logistical problems.
Gotcha. Well, I think we're on the last few minutes here, and you know what, Matthew, it's an honor for Aaron and myself to have you on today. It was very, very fast, but with the last few minutes, please go ahead and share with us what can we do to help you in terms of to boost you so that you will win the race, and if you can share some of the important dates coming up or heading towards 2022 that we should pay attention about. I know you're in Ohio. Some of us may have friends there, or we may tweet or root for you to get the word out. So if you can share what are some of the things that are important to you to help you and your campaign, so that you can secure the victory.
To be perfectly honest with you, it's donations. It is donations, donations, donations. I do not like the money in politics. I think that we really need to have campaign finance reform and real big. But as of right now, it takes money to win a race. Like I said earlier in this conversation, if the crypto community put in $1,000 and 1,000 people put in that $1,000, it would change the whole race over here, and it would make me a viable candidate fueled by the crypto community. Then you can go to Washington. We have this campaign and say the crypto community help me do this, and we get us there. And then we go and we do the work that we need to do. So honestly, if what I need is everybody to send, if they liked what I said here, to tell people to donate to the campaign using cryptocurrency. You can even use dogecoin if you like, or US dollars, and let's create a movement to make sure that the right people are going to Washington to make sure that this industry evolves the way that we want it to.
Very cool, Aaron. I'll let you have the last few words too with Matthew.
Yeah, and so you were talking about having the right people in there, and I was just curious, are there any politicians either running or currently in office that you believe are have good intentions, are capable of doing good work, maybe some that you admire, and then also maybe some people that have been standing up for you or are supporters of yours that maybe we should know about?
Well, I think that you should reach out to Jeff Seitz, that's in Ohio 4 right now. He's running. He's a really good candidate. He's running against Jim Jordan. Um, uh, he's been really on the ground. But I think that what I've been seeing and who I really respect, a lot of people used to say, these big names in politics. You would have the Bernie Sanders or the Andrew Yang or the Elizabeth Warren or Biden or Obama or whoever has just made it to the big stage. But what I've been finding is the people that I really admire are the people that are down on the ground just doing the work. It's like the local community people. I mean, we have people that knock 1,000 doors for a city council race, and they have 300. They have 300 houses in their ward, so they're going around 3 times and knocking the same doors and having the conversation. And that's what I'm learning to respect is the amount of work that when people want it, they're going to put into these races. So I've been having a new respect for the people who are running here locally.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, I just really wanted to kind of reiterate what Jenny had said, that like, we're definitely here for you. This community is definitely rooting for you, and always feel like you can reach out to us if you ever need anything. I know I heard you on the donations, and that's super important. But just like as I was saying, as things progress and move forward, just know that we are definitely here. We are actively trying to build out this network of people that are not only just great potential candidates. People who we think would be great in office, but we want to get everyone networked closer, stronger together as a big community here. Because it's going to take more than just one person getting elected. It's going to take, in my opinion, a bunch of people getting elected. And so, yeah, we definitely support you, and we're always here.
100%. I want to say thank you very much for having me on, allowing me to speak. It was great to talk to you. You guys had excellent, excellent questions that I had to sit down with for a while today, and I appreciate just the platform to talk and to share my ideas.
Thank you so much, Matthew. That's a wrap, everybody. It's a pleasure, Matthew. Thank you, everybody. All of our listeners, our friends in the Dogecoin crypto world, who knows Aaron and myself. Thank you, you guys, for all of your support. We're rooting for the Doge community, Doge Army, and Dogecoin overall. Definitely, we're rooting for Matthew, and we're looking to see him win. Ohio is a very important state, and certainly he's going to vouch for us. So thank you so much, everyone. Good night, and until next time.